Hello there. Good morning, every single person. Thank you for joining me in this beautiful edition of Knox to Nuggets. My name is Youre. Such a joy to come your way again on a very beautiful Monday morning. For everyone joining me now, thank you so much. And for everyone that will join later, I say a big thank you. I know that this program will add value to you. So I want to encourage you again, like the video, share it, pass your comments. Let me know exactly what you feel about this. It is such a joy to always hear from you. And today we have the second edition 2.0 estate planning with BMG. Last week was explosive. I won't take our time by trying to recap. It's right there on YouTube. It's right there on Facebook, Knox to Nuggets. Just go back and watch it again. And you can share it with your friends, share with your colleagues, your neighbors, your family. Just keep sharing it. But she's back today. In case you were not here last week, Binta is an experienced financial services executive and a consultant with a demonstrated practical knowledge of the financial services value chain. She holds 30 years of experience in strategic leadership, wholesale and retail banking, wealth and fiduciary management, treasury marketing, and asset management. She's an astute board member. She currently sits on boards of social impact organization, which enables her to deliver on her interest in female development. She has attended various Ivy League business schools for executive and leadership education that includes Harvard, INSEAD, Wharton, Kellogg Business School, and Yale School of Management. She's a frequent conference speaker on the topics of financial literacy and inclusion, faith, and women empowerment. More than everything I have read, she is a dear friend and a covenant sister. So this morning, help me to celebrate Binta Max-Gbinije. Woo!
Good morning, Auntie Oluwayomi. It's good to be here again. Hello, the Knox to Nugget family. Good morning and welcome. Thank you for joining us again today.
Thank you so much. Last week was amazing. The feedbacks were awesome, and I sincerely thank you. But today, because of time, I'm just going to hit straight at the questions. So the first question I'm hitting at you straight, Binta, is what must I have to start estate planning? Now, I know you said this last week, but I think it bears repetition. What must I have to start estate planning?
Excellent question, Auntie Yomi. And the short answer is anything that is yours, okay, that has value and that you want to transfer to someone that is your designated beneficiary. If you recall, I also mentioned the fact that if someone dies interstate, that is without leaving a will or putting a plan in place, the government of wherever that person resides can actually have recourse to those assets. So it only just makes sense and is the prudent and responsible thing to do for you to put a plan in place stating exactly who gets what, how, in what ratio, okay? So if it
Okay.
is yours, you own it free and clear. You have title to it. I remember using the example of my phone, and I'll use it again and say, this is my phone. I reserve the right to give it to who I want to give it to. And so when you put a plan in place, you say, I want to give it to my first son, Tega. This is my phone. It is very clear. So when the time comes and you're not available, that can be done. Your wishes can be adhered to. The one caveat there that I'll say again is like the lawyers say, nemo dot quod non habet. You cannot give what you don't have. So
Sure.
if it is yours and you own it and it has value and you want to give it to someone, please by all means put a plan in place. So what must you have to start estate planning? Anything that is yours and that has value. Short answer.
Anything that is yours and has
Yeah.
value. Thank you so much. So you've heard that anything that is yours and has value, you can use it to start estate planning. Now the next question is asking, is a will part of estate planning?
Absolutely. Short answer again, absolutely. And it is in fact the easiest of the estate planning tools. Is the most common, is the first one that people recourse to. A will is part of an estate plan. A will is what you use to put that plan in place. A will is that legal document where you state your wishes, that will be adhered to. The one thing that's important to note that there, though, is that it is testamentary in nature. And that
Okay.
what that simply means is that it only kicks in after the testator, that's the person who wrote the will, or the testatrix, if it's a female, has passed on. So it's only when the person has been dead and buried and after a suitable time has elapsed that the lawyers come together, they open the will, they have the family members in attendance, the probate officials, those who need to be there. That's when the will is then opened and the contents are read and
Mm,
action taken thereafter. So
mm,
it's a part of planning estate alongside other instruments, the trust, the intervivors gift, the company structure, family foundations, and. It is the most common and it's a very, very useful way of putting an estate plan in place.
mm. Thank you. So, yes, it is, and it's the most common. But yes, you just mentioned this now, and it's in the question. How is company structure an estate planning instrument? Does it mean that if I have a registered company, I do not need a will?
Interesting question. So the company structure is put in place, for instance, where people have um, ownership of shares in an organization. Okay, so you can transfer that. For instance, if you had an equities portfolio, okay, and you needed to transfer that to a beneficiary, your children, whoever you're going to leave it to, there will be what the stockbrokers call a cross trade. I won't bore you with all the jargons, okay? But there's just that tedious process of transferring to that beneficiary. However, if you had a company structure, Oluwayomi, Ute, and Co., for instance, you could transfer to what will happen in that instance. It will be Oluwayomi, Ute, and Co., who holds that asset, okay?
Mhm.
And so your children, number one, number two, number three, are also directors or owners in that company. And
Mhm.
so what happens, because a company that's a going concern is a legal entity,
Yeah.
when Oluwayomute has lived to be 100 years and has gone to join her forefathers, there will be no need to go to the trouble of saying, how do I get these shares to the people, to
Mm.
my beneficiaries? Because they are already shareholders and directors in that company. The transfer is then seamless to them. Okay? So it's a transfer process that negates the probate, the courts, and all of that. And it's just neater all around. But of
Mm.
course, this happens or is beneficial when it is just your family members.
Yeah.
If you want to give it to other people who are not directors or shareholders of the company, that won't work. So, in that case, you do need a will. Why is a will also advisable? The personal effects that can go into a company. I love your glasses, by the way, Auntie Olua. It is just so classy and nice. So please, you will transfer that to me when the time comes. And this lovely pearls you're wearing, that's what I want to inherit from you. So you see, you can't put this in your company, isn't it? And I
True.
want to be a shareholder in your company. So where a will is then useful is that things like the personal effects and some other wishes that cannot go in a company can then be put in a will.
Mm.
So that's how that works. And
Mm.
that's you can't then totally say, I don't want to put a will in place unless you don't have personal effect, unless you don't have other beneficiaries outside your family members or the shareholders of that company.
Wow.
So you can utilize both and they have their different uses and their different benefits. I hope
Mm.
that clarifies.
Very clear. But I was going to just ruffle the feather a bit and say, what if there's a disagreement amongst the three directors? We not still need a will to resolve it.
Very
So
good
yes, they
question.
are siblings, but it happens.
It happens. Oh, I know of a very prominent family, and I can tell you stories that will make your toes curl, as they say, about how blood brother and sister are
Mhm,
squabbling
mhm.
over things like that. Even though, the wishes of the father were clear, but there's still that fight and all of that still going on that is still not resolved today. So what happens in that instance? That's where, like you rightly said, a will be useful. Or as we say in pidgin parlance, last, they go courts. Where the court will then adjudicate, But even before you get to the courts, thankfully, there are ways now. There's, external mediation. That's one thing that people are resorting to. First, you
Okay.
start with the family. If they're all family members, and they're members of the board, there's usually a board. It's not just three directors. You ought to have more than three directors in that kind of situation. But if there's then that other members of the board, they will try and mediate. If that isn't successful, you go to the external mediation
Mm.
parties, then you go to the courts. But of course, we believe that before you go through all of these processes, hopefully, as children of the same family, they would have come together and sat down and found a way out of the situation.
Hmm. Thank you so much. So we'll go to the next question. And it says, do I need to hand over all my investments to the estate planning company? Do I put all my eggs in this one basket?
Short answer is no.
Okay.
And for instance, while you're still alive, okay, so when you put a will in place, you're still alive, hopefully for many more years, like we said. So for it, you will have personal daily needs. If you put your current account in your will, you can't be going to the trust company or the corporate lawyer or whoever it is to give you money to buy the pearls, to buy new glasses, to buy your nice suit on a regular, okay? So the active accounts that you're still operating, personal active accounts, for instance, shouldn't be a part of your will because you're still alive and you will continue to use it for a while. So, but what you can then do is to put in the will to say, whenever I then pass on, whatever is left in my account or this account that I have run, because obviously I can't put that in the will, should then be treated in so and so fashion. Whatever is in there be distributed in this ratio to this designated beneficiaries, and it will be clearly stated there. So personal accounts that are active and still in use won't go there, for instance, okay? But every other thing that you plan to give to someone, and you bear in mind the fact that death may come suddenly, or mental incapacitation, or sickness, or anything might happen, and you are not there to handle quickly, it will be advisable. Again, the word is advisable to put in a will so that whoever will then take care of it when you go suddenly can do so without any issues. And my follow on question will be, if you don't put it there, what do you want to do with it? Can you take better care of it than this experts will for you while you're still around? So short answer again, and I like to say short answer is one of my favorite phrases. I don't like to give long-winded answers, but I'm happy to take offline and discuss in detail with anyone who requires greater clarification. But short answer will be the things you want to give to designated people when the time comes, by all means go ahead and put in that. Hand it over to the estate planning company because they're experts. But of course, you will have first sat down with them, and before you even put a will in place, your wishes will be clearly stated. So it's essentially your wishes that they're putting in that will document for you. It comes back to you, you look at it carefully, you dot the T's, you dot the I's, you cross the T's, you're sure it totally reflects your express wishes. And it's on the back of that you then execute. So, and the good thing about the will, Auntie Yomi, is to say you can continue to update. Okay?
Okay.
There's something called a codicil. So if I write a will today, it doesn't mean that nothing will change until I'm gone. Next year, by the grace of God, I'll have many more assets that I might want to add. A new child might have been born. I might have married a new wife, okay? And oh, by the way, an interesting fun fact is that the Federal Republic of Nigeria requires you to update your will after you marry. You
Mm.
don't, oh yes, it's an important fact. It's clearly stated that you might not have to give the person you're marrying, your new spouse, anything. Okay, they're not saying give the person anything, but they want to know that you considered that new spouse in that marriage. So if it was a shotgun wedding, you went to Texas and you were drunk, and Las Vegas, you know how they marry like that in Las Vegas, and you go to Las Vegas and you were drunk and you met this person and you married the person. And when you woke up the next morning, you realized it was a mistake and you ran to annul it. Not a problem. But you must update your will after the marriage. You must update your will, because they say they want to know that you considered that person. They're not saying give the person anything, I repeat, but consider the person. And if you do not update it after you marry, then it means that your will is now invalid. So
Wow.
any who marries, who writes a will today and is not married, or who has to marry a second time, please update your will after you marry. Otherwise, that will is null and void.
Mm.
Interesting. Okay,
Wow.
but to
Wow.
the
Wow.
same, but to
I
what I
mean,
was, yes, that's what you need to do. Update your will, put a codicil in place. After you update the second year, the third year, after maybe you've got like three different documents that will be read together, it might then make sense to now do a fresh will, and you codify everything from the five different documents into one, and you continue again until the next time.
wow. That's
Yes, ma'am.
interesting. So it's a requirement to
It is.
update your will when you're married. Let me ask you this.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm a lady. I
Yes.
get married. Does it apply to me or is it just to the guys?
Oh, absolutely. Everyone who has a will, even a child who's above 18, once you're a legal adult, you have to update your will. It doesn't matter if it's man or woman, boy or girl. Once you're of age, you have a valid will in place. You must update once you marry. And talking
Mm,
about the Federal Republic of Nigeria, something else that's interesting is that if you have a retirement savings account, as long
okay.
as you're working and you have a pension, please make sure you put a will in place. Why is it important? Because even the regulator, the PENCOM, yes, okay, the regulator for Nigeria has said that we will not release your RSA until we see a validly executed will naming the beneficiaries. So God forbid that you will have worked for 30 years, 35 years, and you have an RSA where there's money that should go to your family members, but they can't get access to it because you did not leave a will in place. So one of the reasons why you should also do that for the good of your family, if for nothing, is to access all this money that you sweated for while you were working. So it's easiest for you to put a will in place. If you don't, then comes the cumbersome process of obtaining a letter of administration. And that's such a process that's fraught with irregularities. Anything can happen. We've seen an instance where a woman was crying after her husband died, understandably. And then you know how it is in some cultures. He's the eldest man that they will bring. So the eldest man came, they handed him the death certificate, and then while she was crying, as culture demands, she had to go to the village for 3 months. While she was in the village in that 3 months, in that mourning period, this eldest man was in Lagos activating and trying to get whatever he needed that belonged to the man because he had the death certificate. Okay, he was
Hmm.
obtaining a letter of probate and had gone far and was about to make away with everything that had gone to her and the children. But where there's a will in place, that process can be negated. That will be upheld, and that person will get, the right people will get what should come to them. That's another important reason why a will should be in place. Because even for someone who has an RSA, that's a retirement savings account, the Federal Republic of Nigeria, through the PENCOM, the Pension Commission has said this is the easiest way to access it.
Wow.
Yes,
That so
ma'am.
let me just quickly then go to the next question. You're saying hand over to the estate planners, blah blah blah. How do I monitor my investment portfolio?
Excellent. So if you're dealing with a trust company, corporate attorney, trust attorney, they should give you reports, okay, on a daily, quarterly, monthly, biannual, annual basis, whatever it's the frequency that you want or require. So you agree ab initio, that's from the very beginning when you're going into this process to say, I want reports. And depending on how active your portfolio is, then they might need to give you either on a monthly or quarterly or whatever basis you agree. But if you are doing it online, and I'm going to assume second part of this question to say I am investing, I am the investment manager for my portfolio and all of that. How do I know? If you're dealing through other organizations, you can insist on an online access. So for
Okay.
instance, I know an asset management company where they give you online access when you invest in their mutual funds. So on
Mm-hmm.
a daily basis, you can log online and check and see how well your investment is doing or otherwise. And because you have full vision of it, you are able to quickly say, oh, this is going down, sell it, move it to another instrument, or oh, this is going up, I put more money in it and all. My auntie lost her husband, and she got some money and she wanted to invest. So we advised her, and I put it in this investment for her. And she was so excited. Every 2 weeks she will call me, oh my God, Binta, I just checked. But woman lost, okay. That means my money is going up. But because she had access, she could do that. And when she got more money, she added it as well. So if you're using a third party, they should furnish you a report. You should have access to them. You should be able to see it at a moment's notice. You should be able to walk into their office and they'll give you a report to give you that assurance that your funds, your assets, your portfolio is being well looked after. If it's a stockbroken one, for instance, there's the online, you have access to, NIPS, you get your reports, you get all of that, you can see your portfolio. So that's just the way to ensure that you're on top of it at every point in time. But do
Hmm.
not have a asset manager or trustee or corporate attorney who says to you, don't worry, everything is fine. No, see reports that you yourself check, double check, and triple check until you're confident that they're running it safely for you. And then you can just leave it in their capable hands. But at all times, you must stay on top of it. So if you're doing it yourself, you can check online, make sure you have access at all times, and ensure financial education as well. Keep
Hmm.
updating, keep reading, okay? Keep knowing what time of day it is and what's going on,
Hmm.
changing in the world. What's the federal government saying about bonds, where are T-bill rates and all that? You must educate yourself. You must do the research. You
Wow.
must know what's going on. Very important for you to do that as well. Okay.
Hmm. Wow. So just don't throw your money there and go to bed. You must keep at it. So the work continues in actual fact. Then, okay, so I monitor my investment portfolio is with company A. And
Yes.
maybe because I have met Auntie Bina, I have heard so much and I'm like, I don't want company again. I want company B. Can I do a switch?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Depending on what you agreed to from the very beginning. And I'm sure nobody will sign a document today that will say it must be you from now until I die. Okay? Everyone. And that's why it's important to read the small
To
print in
read.
agreement. Yes. Read the small print in agreement. Know what your options are. Research. Compare accounts. Compare companies. Compare track record. Know which one you're more comfortable with, know which one has a history of integrity, know which one has a history of good return. So you do the homework first, ab initio, at the very beginning, before you then go with a particular company. But you then go with the particular company, all is hunky dory, all is well for a while, and then you get to the point where you think, no, I want to move. You sit down, you look at the agreements that you entered into at the very beginning, and be sure that you have that get out of, not jail in this case, but get out of the agreement clause. So that's important at the beginning to ensure that you're not locked into something that's eternal against your wishes. So you must note that before you sign. And then when the time comes, you then are able to move. But do your homework well, check and see. Sometimes there are clauses in all those agreements that say if you are moving from me, you pay a penalty. So there's a penalty clause. So sometimes you
Hmm.
need check all of that at the beginning and be sure that it's worth your while. Then you do the maths, you do the numbers. If I move to this company, what am I going to get from this company that's better than where I'm at? And the penalty of moving, does it outweigh the benefits? So weigh the pros and the cons. And when you're sure it's still in your best interest or you are still happy to move, then you can then go ahead and make that move. but nothing stops you. You're not a tree. You're not planted there. You want to move, you move. There's freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of investment manager as well. So that shouldn't be a problem at all.
Wow. Okay. I thought today was going to be very short because it was Q&A, but we have so many questions. We'll take this. I think this should be the last question we'll be able to take today. When it says investment, which areas of business, market, or trades can we invest?
Wow, that's an open-ended question.
Hmm.
Plenty options, plenty instruments, many areas. However, first and foremost, two or three things that are key for you to deal with. First is identifying your risk profile. Okay. So in term talking about risk profile, there is the conservative investor, there is the balance that's in the middle, then there's the aggressive on the far end of the spectrum. Okay. So what am I? Am I conservative? If I am conservative, I want my money jeje. I put it in something jeje. When I come back jeje, it is waiting for me jeje. Okay. If that is the kind of investor I am, then obviously I'll go for money market instruments. So money market instruments, which are the call, savings, fixed deposit, and maybe even treasury, those ones are safe to the extent that I know that my initial investment will be safe no matter what. Guaranteed. I put in 1 million, I know I'm getting 1,200,000 when the time comes based on the interest rate, right? So that one is guaranteed. Balance is in the middle. They are conservative, but they also want higher return. And in the law of investing, it is the higher the return, the higher the risk. Okay? So here I am in the middle. I want to be sure my money is safe, but I want a lot more than 200 on that 2 million or 20 million. For let's use 20 million. So what do? I might then want to diversify a bit and put it in some of it in equities.
Hmm.
Equities can go higher. Let's talk about Coinbase, cryptocurrency, digital assets, but that's story for another day. So you can go invest some in crypto, for instance, and on digital assets. Let me not talk crypto, digital assets. And you find that the return is perhaps then 600. So you'll get 20,600,000 as opposed to 20,200,000 when you are a conservative. When you then go aggressive, for instance, at the end of the spectrum, you put in 20 million, you might get 40. And Auntie Yami, you see, something I should talk about in this investment thing, talking about digital assets. Nigeria as a country had banned, trading in crypto and Bitcoin and all of that. I won't go into that or into that argument, right? But then I would want to encourage us to look at it. For
Hmm.
anyone who's an investor, I'm not saying put your money in there. I will urge caution, and I'll say do the research. Last week, Coinbase, which is a digital asset, a crypto, rolled out an IPO, and it will blow your mind how it shot up. So much so that Coinbase it is the net asset and net worth of that company today is more than banks that have been around for eons and eons. I won't go to details. A friend of mine, we were talking yesterday, and she mentioned how, as at November 7th, she bought crypto, Bitcoin, at 15,500. Okay. As at Friday, let me see, Friday, which is August the what, 16th, that's now
April.
55,000. So that gives you an idea. But again, I will urge caution, which then takes me to Lauren Buffett's, Warren Buffett, beg your pardon, Buffett's advice about investment. He says diversify. And it's not just him, it's also a rule of thumb. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, okay? Spread it out, okay? But the aggressive investor, I was saying, will put all their eggs in that basket. It is this Bitcoin. 15,000 to 55,000. I'm putting all my money there. You might make a killing and be on the list of Forbes 40 under 40 when you make the millions. However, you might also lose everything like that. Okay? So there are different things and different instruments: Bitcoin, real estate,
Hmm.
bonds, property. We've just talked digital. FX is another good one. I remember talking to someone, and when she said to me, when she bought dollars and to sock away and diversified her from naira, it was 365. I don't know if you bought dollar recently, Auntie Yomi,
Hmm.
but at Friday it was like 489 or something, almost 500. So if you do the math, you can see the appreciation there. So many, many, many things that you can put in even in sectors. Medicare on the back of the pandemic has shown us that there's a huge amount there, right?
Yeah.
Agriculture, can't go wrong with it either. If we go back to Abraham Maslow's needs of man:
Yeah. All
food,
right.
clothing, shelter, any day, anytime, you invest in those sectors or in those businesses, the return is guaranteed, because we will always eat. We will always need a roof over our head. We will always need clothes to wear. We won't walk about naked. So there's all of that as well to consider. And then many other things. Logistics, we saw that become a booming market after the
Yeah.
pandemic hit. Agri-tech, services, the Ubers, health and wellness, education, and of course telecoms. You can't even, talk about that without talking about telecoms. MTN and the others are smiling literally and literally to the bank on the back of the pandemic. We're doing this now online. Zoom, StreamYard, all of them hopping, they have made billions, billions and billions in dollars. So those are opportunities. And we can go on and on, but just suffice it to say there are opportunities, but you need to do your homework. First, determine your profile, very important. Don't go and put money that you need to pay school fees in. Children are going back to school next week, for instance. Don't invest that kind of money. Put that aside, and you must have that emergency fund that takes care of that. Don't go and put your rent money in Coinbase or crypto when Mr. Landlord will come and knock on the 1st of May. It's important. So, of course, you take out, determine, apart from your risk profile, what your heart can take, then and then also short-term funds that you need, you don't invest. So determine your risk profile, determine what money is short, medium, or long term, and then you then invest accordingly. Real estate, for instance, is not something you will put your money in today and expect a quick return. Sometimes to sell off a property might take you more than a year or so. Now, if the money for school fees and feeding was in there, wahala dey be that. So it's first dimensioning all of that. Your risk profile, whether it's short term, long term, medium term, what your heart can take in terms of the returns and when you need it, and then you diversify. A good mix will be to say, put some in money market, put some in equities, put some in crypto if you're inclined to go that way, put some in real estate, and know that you get the returns or you get the funds back at different times. You stagger it so that at any point in time, you're not, locked down because you can't access assets that you have invested. That will be, a good way to start, man. And I hope that answered that question. I know I went on for quite a
That
bit.
was simply amazing. I had to thank you so much, Binta. I had to stretch us a bit beyond the 15-20 minutes so that
Fine.
we can take all those questions. I know your schedule, I know how busy you are. I can't guarantee I can bring you in for a 3.0. So I have to stretch you and thank you so much. And the best way is what one of the listeners put in here, Reverend Boniface Imo, will just like and all the thumbs up. Thank you so much. It's been so, so educational. You have answered the questions as simply as anyone could. Really, ABC, you've done such a great work and we're so grateful. Thank you so much for taking out time. Thank you so much for sharing all of this with us. Thank you so much for educating us. We are all better today because you came on this show. And I'll be rounding off with this quote: you don't have to be rich to invest, but you have to invest to be rich. And that's what you have said to us in all of this minutes since last week into this week. Don't wait to get the millions and the billions to start investing. Indeed, start now. Thank you so much, Binta. I truly do appreciate all that you have shared with us today. I know a lot of people will keep going back and back to it, listening again and gleaning from it. Thank you so much. Of course, I would come again. And I hope when I come again, you will oblige.
Anytime. Anything for you, Auntie Yomi, or almost anything.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. So have a wonderful day, Binta. Thank you so much. Oh, somebody said he wants you to come for 3.0. Oh, okay. We viewers of Knox to Nuggets show have unanimously decided that we want Auntie Binta to come again for BMG 3.0. So put it in the works. We'll come back for you. Thank you so much. A lot of eye-opening things there. God bless you. Have a wonderful day and a great week ahead.
You too, Ma. Thank you so much. God bless Nuts to Nuggets. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you. Wow, that was full. That was rich. That was awesome. Thank you again, Binta. And thank you to everyone who had been on the call. And for those that would come up later, please watch, share, pass your comments. Let's keep gleaning. You don't have to be rich to invest, but you have to invest actually to be rich. Thank you so much, everybody. I truly appreciate you being on this call. Let's do it again next week, Monday. And I'll be unveiling a new thing next week, Monday. You don't want to miss it. I'll be unveiling a new series coming your way on this platform. And until next week, Monday, never forget this. Together we win. God bless you. Have a great, great, great week ahead. I appreciate you. So, signing off for today. See you next week, Monday.